Eek. Oh, I forgot my light. That's not a good idea, is it, girls? Forgetting your light in the morning. Good morning. How the heck are you? It's morning in my part of the world. It may not be morning in your part of the world, but good morning. I managed to at least get my camera started this time. We have light issues because it's a beautiful Australian morning and the sun is streaming through my window. If you can see me and hear me, do say hello to me in the comments, just so I can see that people can see me and hear me. And welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Debbi Carberry. I am a university-trained therapist. I'm also online. I help women who are coming out of long-term relationships, oftentimes when they least expect it. They don't particularly want to be coming out of their relationships, and they might be going through things like midlife crisis. They may be going through things, menopause things. They may be going through issues with their kids as they're growing and becoming adults. Like, it can be a complicated time. So I have women like that. So if you're a woman like that and you're here to ask me questions, welcome. This is my weekly Q&A session. Good morning. Hello, ladies. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Mary. Hi, Kathy. So what I do when I come in on Thursday mornings is I answer your questions. And I've got a couple of questions from people this week, and I'm going to give you a tip at the end as well. So if you are interested in asking me a question, you can email them to me or come live and ask me if you'd like to. So let's start with question number 1, shall we? It's morning, girls. Plenty of coffee. That's what we need. Something about coffee first thing. Right, so my first question is about gaslighting. And these questions are the couple of questions I've got first thing are interesting ones that kind of, I think, are misunderstood, misinterpreted, labeled inappropriately sometimes. So I'm going to talk a bit about that as well. So the first question is about gaslighting. You know, it is, I think certain phrases have become a little popular, especially with, you know, the internet and, you know, TikTok and things like that, where people talk about specific topics and they get put in a basket, and so does everything from the relationship. So I'm going to tell you what gaslighting is. And gaslighting technically is when somebody's saying what you're saying is not true, that you are, you know, you're not that you're lying, but your recollection is not accurate. They can minimize what you are saying. You know, it's not that important. It's not that bad. They can blame you. Well, it's your fault. You kind of deserve it. And they can also, you know, do small things that have you worrying about whether what you are thinking, what you are feeling, what you are experiencing, you start to doubt yourself a bit. And that's more about what gaslighting is. It's not generally about whopping great big lies. It's about little small things that people do that just have us doubt ourselves and wonder if our version of our life is accurate or not. It's not about disagreeing oftentimes, because we can have varying degrees of reality with other people, right? But it can make us doubt our reality. So when somebody is telling you, well, no, that's not how it happened. Like, why are you saying that's how it happened? It didn't happen like that. We can start to doubt our own reality. We can start to fear that our recollection of something is not accurate. So it's not that they're saying you're wrong technically. It's that we're doubting that what we said is accurate. They're getting us to actually start to tune into our own stuff and go, did I remember that right or not? So, which of course then really undermines our own self-belief, self-worth, self-love, all of the things that we need to sort of cope with life. Some examples of what somebody might say to you when they're gaslighting you is that you imagine things, you know, that didn't happen, like that didn't happen, or that isn't what I said, you've misunderstood what I said, or you've misinterpreted what I said, or, well, you're just a bit too emotional. Women are told these things a lot regardless. This is part of a culture, right? A culture that says we're a bit too emotional anyway. So we start to question ourselves. And that is really the purpose of gaslighting. It is to get you to second guess yourself, to start to doubt yourself, wonder about yourself. And in some cases, it can be really serious. So you need to understand what it is. That's the first thing, is understanding what it is, understanding what it sounds like. Of course, what can happen next is we can start to believe what we're being told. And so because we're doubting ourselves, we're kind of like, oh, maybe I did remember that wrong. Maybe that isn't what they said. Maybe I have misinterpreted. And so we start to really doubt ourselves, and we start to apologize. We start to tell ourselves, I'm being a bit sensitive. I'm being a bit, maybe my memory is not as good as it was. Maybe I'm too tired. And we start to give ourselves messages that the other person is more aware, more astute, and also more powerful than we are. They start to have power over us and the way we're thinking and feeling. It's an awful dynamic in relationships, and can really seed a lot of doubt and fear. It is a bit common, but it's not as common as people think. Like, people can have disagreements, we can remember things differently, we can experience life differently to somebody else. But if it's a recurring pattern of behavior, if a person is constantly telling us that isn't what happened, you've got it wrong, you're imagining things, then we do need to sit down and go, okay, hang on a second, I need to have a think about this doesn't seem right to me. And if it's only happening in the relationship and nowhere else in your life, then yeah, I think you can probably assume that it's gaslighting. So again, when you experience this, it's about stopping and coming back to yourself and reminding yourself, hang on a second, did I remember that right? Is this what my recollection was? And if it is, reminding yourself, it's okay if we see it differently, and we can say things like that. I recall that differently to you. My experience was different to that. And that's not saying that what they're saying is wrong. It's saying, well, my experience was different to that. So if you're experiencing gaslighting, it's good to have just a couple of lines up your sleeve, like, well, I experience it different to you, or I don't recall it like that. Those can be really helpful things to say that bring back your power a little bit in that exchange and dynamic. So, my darlings, good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope that was helpful. If anybody has any questions for me, you can pop them into the comments. I'm here to answer your questions for a little while this morning. I'm also here to remind you that my Heartbreak to Healing workshop is happening from the 13th of May to the 21st of May. If you'd like to sign up for that, I will put the link for that in the pinned comment of this post. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my videos. It really helps my channel, helps me reach more women. I'm fairly new to YouTube, finally getting the hang of how to use the camera and get things started on time, something that I was struggling with because I've used other platforms before this, so this is a new platform for me. I'm growing my YouTube channel. I have more subscribers now, I think 1,160 something, so that's really exciting for me. And I come here on a weekly basis to answer questions. I also put out videos every week. There is a subscribe button somewhere on this screen. I don't know where it is. I have no clue where it is on the screen. Maybe down there. And in one of the corners, I put a thing called an iCard, which tells you something else you can watch if you'd like to. So I'm getting used to the technology, girls. Yes, I am. So if you have any questions for me, pop them into the comments. YouTube is a little easier, a bit more user-friendly for women who are feeling like they maybe do not want their entire family group to know what's going on. They might not want their friends to know what's going on. So coming onto YouTube gives you a little bit more autonomy. People may not see you, a bit more privacy. But one other thing you can do, if you're wanting to come onto my channel and you're wanting to ask me questions, but you're afraid that people see them, you can just set up a little Gmail account in a different name, and then you can use that account when you want to come here and ask me questions, and that way that will give you a bit more privacy. As my channel grows, I'm hoping to be able to help women in various different ways, and that is one of my goals that I'm working towards, is growing the channel so that I can provide lots of different options for people. Like I said, I do have my Heartbreak to Healing workshop coming up on the 13th of May. It's a free workshop for a week. We host that over on Facebook because right now that is the platform that I'm using. So if you want to come over there, we do it in private Facebook groups where people can't see what you're saying. And we teach for a week, and we also, the purpose of the workshop is to help women move from being quite stuck, feeling like they can't move forward, feeling like they are in a lot of grief and pain, and help them move through some of that process and begin their healing journey. So that's what we kind of do in that group. So like I said, if you've got a question for me, do pop it into the chat. If you don't, I'm going to go on to the next question that I have, which has come from somebody. Now, the next question is a topic that's a bit sticky for me. So in my workshop, one of the guidelines for the workshop is we don't talk about narcissists at all. This can be a little confronting for some people. People think, well, why can't we talk about narcissists? I'm experiencing that. And I absolutely even ban the word. If people use the word, it's flagged, and I actually take their questions away. They can ask them using different words, but they can't use the word narcissist. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And this question is going to help me explain that to you a little bit better. So as a mental health professional, narcissism is a diagnosis. It is a personality disorder. It's an access to diagnosis. And narcissistic personality disorder is quite, really, in the population, is very, very, very small. That said, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of women around the world are told that, excuse me, I've just got my notes here, are told that, certain behaviors equal narcissism, and narcissism is widespread. And during my research around narcissism, what I found was, there are whole cohorts on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, huge slathers of people, groups of people who talk about narcissism, and it becomes a bit of an interesting downward spiral into badness, in my opinion. So this question is, everybody says that he's a narcissist, but what if he's not? What if it's something else? P.S. It's something else. Usually it's something else. So we club together in our culture a group of behaviors, and we decide that that is what narcissism is. It is not what people say it is. Not every single person who hurt you is a narcissist. In fact, it's a tiny percent of the population. It seems today we label everything. Everything has a label. Everybody has a label. It kind of gets under my skin a bit. We use narcissism, it's thrown around like confetti these days. And I believe with my whole heart that it's really disempowering to label your ex-partner a narcissist. If they are, different story. But if they're not, labeling them narcissistic, to me, just disempowers you and really impedes your journey. Because if you type that into your URL on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, even on Facebook, anywhere you put that, up will come tons of people who are like, yeah, they did this to me too. And we get into that mode of so focusing on the other person and who they are and what they did and how they did it, and we lose sight of what we need. Like, imagine if you have 10 pebbles, and 10 pebbles are your energy for the day. That's all you're allowed, 10. And in the day, you spend 9 of those pebbles describing your narcissistic ex, what they did, how they did, where they did, spending time with other people talking about their narcissistic partners, what they did, how they did, where they did, what they did, what happened. Then we have 1 pebble left for grief, loss, for practical things like showing up to work, spending time with our children, moving forward, dealing with the finances, dealing with the lawyers, all the things that come up when a relationship ends. Some people are avoidantly attached, which is on a continuum, right? So if we have secure attachment and then we have other attachment styles, an avoidant attachment style is not narcissism. An avoidant attachment style is somebody who struggles to connect emotionally because they felt really overwhelmed by one of their primary carers. They feel like that person was really intrusive in their lives. So they put up some boundaries, sometimes walls, to stop people getting in. They're not narcissistic. They're just taking care of themselves by keeping people out. Is it a great thing to be in a relationship with somebody who has an avoidant attachment style? It can be challenging, that's for sure. Maybe, just maybe, this person has Asperger's. And maybe, just maybe, this person finds communication tricky. Maybe they are not emotionally able to manage relationships. Maybe they find it overwhelming. You know, there's a cohort of men who, you know, men over 40 and men over 50, 60, 70 are going to even be more like this, who were culturally raised to be emotionally shut down, who were culturally raised not to be sad or cry or show how they feel. And so when we're moving in with this, they're a narcissist, we are completely dumbing down the complexity of relationships. So ask yourself some questions, right? Yeah, how do they show empathy? Kathy, can you? Oh, great! You know you've made it on YouTube when you start we'll time that person out. Let's time them out. Let's time them out for 24 hours. You're timed out. I've never did I ever. I managed to delete all their messages. See, this is my first time on YouTube, and I've had my first person come in and start trolling. So I now feel I've actually met the bar. Never did I ever on any other channel, but I worked that out quick. All right, so that person has now been blocked, and that reminds me, Kathy, we'll have to get moderators for this. So we managed to block that person, which is nice. I feel better now. My distraction. So does your partner show empathy, and how do they show it? Like, not everybody says, "How are you feeling? Tell me about it. What's going on for you? What does it look like? What's it feel like?" They may not do that. They may show empathy by getting you a cup of tea. They may show empathy by taking the kids out. They may show empathy by buying some flowers. It's interesting, right? So we have to be a bit mindful. Can they take responsibility for their own behavior? And again, not everybody can. It's helpful in a relationship if a person can, but not everybody can. And so we have to be mindful of that. People have to be able to take responsibility for what they do, and hopefully be responsible enough for, if they've done harm, to apologize and try and be kind. Now, is your partner willing? This is a big thing for me when I'm working with individuals and couples, and I work with men and women, by the way. I do my workshops predominantly for women, because men tend not to want to do group workshops where women really enjoy the community of that. Men tend to be, one-on-one, and they kind of want to get to the point, and they don't want to listen to a lot of nonsense. They just want to keep moving along. But if a person is willing, man or woman is willing, they want to understand, they want to grow, they want to make sense of what's going on, then that is really important. If somebody is hurting you, emotionally hurting you, then sitting back and evaluating that, understanding what is going on with that is important. Spending 9 of your 10 pebbles on, they did this, oh, mine did that too. When did that happen? Oh my gosh, that happened to me too. If you spend 9 of your 10 pebbles on that, you will not have anything left over for the important work of recovering from a relationship ending. I really get a bee in my bonnet about the overdiagnosis and the incorrect diagnosis of people with narcissistic personality disorder. It's important. It's important to know whether that is accurate or not. In some cases it is, but it is in the tiniest, smallest amount of cases. The rest of the people are possibly, they may have an avoidant personality, they may be introverted, they may be on the autistic spectrum and have Asperger's, they may be culturally more distant, they may be in a time and era in the 40s, 50s, 60s, even the 70s, where people were taught to pull it in and not share information. So just be mindful of diving into that. I think it can absolutely stall your recovery from a relationship ending. All right, so that was a bit exciting. Number one, dealing with a topic that most people bring up with me, and number two, having a troll. I'm just like, I really feel like I've made it. I've got a troll on the internet for the first time ever, and I managed to really shut it down. I was dead impressed with myself, to be honest. Kate, you've just asked me, are they actually deeply traumatized individuals? No, not necessarily. So people who are diagnosed with personality disorders, many will have a traumatic history. Many will have very dynamic family dynamics that are actually conducive to a personality disorder. So yes, some, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have deeply traumatizing histories. It doesn't mean that necessarily. But yes, something has generally happened in their history that has them being really self-protective and being grandiose. Like a narcissist is quite grandiose and thinks that they're really special and that they're always right and that other people are always wrong and that they are better than everybody else and more special than everybody else. And it comes from a deep-rooted sense of insecurity and fear, generally speaking. So, it is very challenging, but most people are not diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. They are just something else. And understanding that can save you a lot of time. And getting in the rabbit hole of that can really delay your capacity to move forward. So just be a bit careful about that. Oh, hello, Judy. How are you? I'm alternating between coffee and water because it's morning in my part of the world. Now, this channel. So what I'm intending to do with my lovely channel is I have a bunch of playlists. So when you look on YouTube, there's a little screen that says playlists. Oh, it has all sorts of things, videos, shorts, that kind of thing, and it has playlists. So what I try to do to make it easy for people to find things is I've labeled those. And they're different things like when a long-term relationship ends, if your partner's had an affair, attachment. I talk about attachment a lot, and particularly about anxious attachment, and how that can really impact the way we think, feel, and behave, and how we are within our relationships. I also have another little tab, which is my little special tab, which is Musings After Dark, and that is where I put some of the poetry that I've written, and I actually read that poetry. In that spot, I'm going to be putting things like my life, the things that make me feel passionate about my life and my job. I'm a mum. I've got 4 grown kids. I have a partner who I've been with for 23 years this year, I think. I think it's 23 years this year. I'm not married. I am a university trained therapist. I love my garden. My garden is really important. And for those of you who garden, I grow food in my garden and flowers. I did a ton of growing out or getting my seeds ready. So I planted a ton. I got carnations. My daughter at Christmas bought me, she made for me a one of those, advent calendars. But for every day I got a packet of seeds. So yesterday I was able to plant out carnations, and I was able to good Fiona. I was able to plant carnations and asters, and I did some more vegetables. So I have a big veggie patch too, huge veggie patch, and I've moved 2 years ago. So my soil here is so rich and beautiful, and I have a lot of homemade compost from some trees that we chipped, and so I have put that into my garden. So my garden is going so good. So I'll be taking you into my garden to show you some of that over time. I also like to eat whole foods and foods that are really minimally processed. And I do that because it's good for my mental health. Your gut needs to be really healthy and strong, and that gives us really good mental health. So I'll be sharing some of my recipes down the track. And if you want to say hello to me, please do so in the comments. If you have a question for me, pop it into the comments also, and I will answer it for you. I have a little tip coming up next, and this tip is just about how to manage things. See, I got a piece of paper, typed paper. Normally I have another screen, but I haven't worked out how to do that yet. I haven't worked out how to do that yet on YouTube, and I have to just really stay in my lane. So getting the camera turned on time, arriving on time, and having it work, that's my main goal so far. The next goal will be how to use cards and things, and then how to get my notes so that I can read them. Because of course, some of this stuff I need to see the questions and things if I'm going to read them out. Unless, of course, you ask me in the comments, which I encourage you to do. So let's have a look. Fiona, you're pleased that you made it. Nice to see you, darling. I hope you're well. Linny, it's so lovely to be able to see and hear you again, Debbie. Nice to see you, Linny. Good to see you too. And Judy, just prepping the garden areas here in Canada now, but my ranunculus are beautiful right now. Judy, I actually started some ranunculus seeds yesterday. Normally I put my corms out in May, which is today is May. So I'll be putting my ranunculus corms out, but I started seeds. I've never grown ranunculus from seeds, but I thought it's a good, ranunculus are really hard to get hold of in Australia, and so the varieties aren't great and they're extremely expensive. So what I did was I managed to get some seeds, which I'm really pleased about, and I'm gonna try to grow them from seeds. I know they're really fussy, so I'm gonna try. And yes, 2 screens would be great, Mary, but you know what? I struggle with one bloody screen. There's no way I'd manage 2 screens, not a chance. I know people have 2 and 3 screens, you know what I mean? No. I'm old school. I'm piece of paper gal. That's me, piece of paper. Like I said, when I'm doing workshops and things, I can do my 2 screens because I know how to do it. But I don't know that I would like to go over the line of actually having 2 screens. It's too scary. All right, I'm going to give a little tip. So this is my new format. I've only been doing this 3 weeks. My new format is going to be answering questions, but at the end I want to give a tip. So if you've got a question for me, you can still pop it in. I'm more than happy to answer it. Please do say hello to me. If you are going to the Heartbreak to Healing workshop and you are here, just give me a wave and say hi. That'd be lovely to see who you are and where you're at. Yeah, I did figure it out. Only just figured it out. So we're not gonna test things too much. We're just gonna make sure we can get the basics done first. All right, so when people get distressed, any people, this can be for kids, for parents, for mums, for dads, for anybody, but when we get distressed, what happens is it's really hard for us to be able to sort of stay present in our bodies and think through what we want, because part of our brain goes, uh-oh, you're in danger. So if we are distressed by, a relationship ending, by dealing with an ex-partner, maybe dealing with a boss that we feel uncomfortable with, maybe we've got teenage kids who are getting to that stage where they're really quite pushy and a bit, difficult to manage, then this can be a really great tool to help you in those situations. So when we're feeling really distressed, what can happen is our brain gets a signal that we're not safe. And it tells us that actually you need to shut down parts of your brain so that you can be focused on escaping and being safe. So what happens is your heart will start to race, possibly depending on whether you're going to fight and flight or freeze. So if you go up into fight and flight, you're going to have heart palpitations, your stomach can get in knots, you can talk loudly and fast, you might become quite emotionally dysregulated and say and do things that maybe you wouldn't do at other times. Or maybe you are flighty, you run, you literally go, I've got to go, I can't stop, I can't wait, I have to leave because it's too intense. Or maybe you go down, and when you're going into that flattened phase, and you're sort of getting into your breath gets quite shallow and quiet and slow, and you get quite still and you get quite silent and you're shutting yourself down. So when those things happen, that's a sign to your brain that, hey, this isn't a safe situation for me. And so your brain is doing what it can to try and protect you. People often say, well, just breathe. Sometimes that is actually quite hard. I know it sounds ridiculous, but being conscious of your breath and being mindful that you are breathing to get your body back on board can be challenging. So I always suggest practicing every hour breathing in specific kinds of ways. So you might do a 4-4-6. You might breathe in for 4, hold your breath for 4, and exhale for 6. And the longer the exhale, the better it is for your nervous system. So and that long exhale is just really good for your nervous system. Something else that can be helpful when you're feeling really distressed and you can't kind of get yourself back into your body is get some really cold water. You can get some ice. You can have a little bag of ice in your fridge. You can kind of put it on your forehead or the back of your neck. You can kind of put a couple of ice cubes in your hands and hold them. But getting something really cold or putting it on your wrists, it can kind of bring you back into your body, and just having it there, knowing that it's there and going, this is what I got to do. Also, another thing is to come back and ground yourself. And, that's a strange thing, to ground yourself. What does that mean? Well, sometimes we feel like we're out of our bodies and we want to come back into them and have our feet firmly planted on the ground, be back inside of ourselves. And the way to do that is a technique, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So 5 things I can see, 4 things I can feel, 3 things I can smell, 2 things I can taste, 1 thing I can hear. So it's just helpful to kind of come back into your body. For those of you who are in the early stages of separation, where you are really feeling quite distressed, I would write some of this stuff down on a little note card and stick it on your fridge or have it in your purse, so that when you are really distressed and your brain has gone offline and it's gone, okay, we can't be dealing with this right now, it's too distressing, you are able to look at that and go, right, I've got to breathe. I'm going to do a 4-4-6 or a 4-7-8, which is another breath, or a 4-4-4-4. It doesn't matter, as long as you're doing it. Sort of inhale, hold your breath for a little minute, and then breathe out long. Do it 4 or 5 times just to get yourself back inside your body again. So having that on a notepad or putting it into a little card, sticking it on your fridge, in your purse, wherever, but just to remind yourself when things are really tough and you're really distressed. Doing those things helps signal back to your brain, hey, guess what? You're not in danger. It's okay for you to come back to yourself. Like, nobody's going to hurt you right now. And it helps your nervous system get back on board. It doesn't fix things and make things logical. What it does is it calms your system down enough so that you can feel safe enough to deal with whatever's going on. And like, having little strategies is really important. In my membership, I talk to my ladies about having a self-soothing toolkit where you put little things in so that in those times of stress, you have a place to go and just pull things out and go, this is what is going to calm me down. And it's it does take a bit of practice, and it does take a bit of trying things out to see what works for you. There are things that I know, chewing crunchy things really, really helps me a lot. Crusty bread, which, although delicious and really good, I shouldn't eat as much as I do. But crunchy bread, chewing gum, a crunchy apple, like things that are really crunchy actually do help calm my system down. So again, finding the thing that works for you is really important. You have to be a bit of a detective in your own life to help you find the things that are really, really important to you. All right, that's the end of my questions here. We'll get rid of that. And I do see a question over in the chat, so let me go over there. If you have a question for me, pop it in. I'll stay on for a little while longer. Fiona, my darling, I started dating my ex again. Last weekend, I felt extremely anxious about us, and I called him to talk about it, and he's totally pushed me away, feeling like an idiot. Okay, let's deal with 2 things. Number 1, you're not an idiot. So let's be compassionate with ourselves. Let's be kind with ourselves. We make decisions based on the best information we have in the present moment. And we make decisions wanting to do the best thing for ourselves. We do not make decisions that are designed to hurt ourselves. No matter what it is, we don't. We are actually trying to help ourselves all the time. So first things first, be kind to yourself. Feeling like an idiot won't help you. Be self-forgiving. I actually did a video about that last week, I think. Self-forgiveness is really important. So have a look at that video, Fiona, on self-forgiveness. Just really important to be kind to yourself. The next thing is, people tell us who they are. They do, whether we like it or not. They tell us who they are. And our brain can be in a situation where sometimes we forget who they are, and we move to a space of going, but there were good things. There were things that we enjoyed. There were things that we liked. There were things that we could connect on, which are probably true. And so we tune into those. And what we do is we tune out the other things that say, they don't deal with my emotional stuff really well. They're not able to sit with me and hear me and be compassionate and kind to me. And I need to remember that. Because when the time comes, because in all relationships, we're looking for a partner who can be there for us, who can help us, who can support us like we would do for them, right? That's the same that we would do. There's a level of reciprocity in relationships where, we do some, they do some, we do some, they do some. And relationships are about balance. They're about both parties giving and taking in kind of equal amounts. And so when there's an imbalance and one person really is not able to or doesn't want to give, that's not helpful. So you kind of have to be mindful. I'm sorry your relationship has ended again, my darling. I'm sorry this was painful for you. And, be kind to yourself, be compassionate with yourself. Look to what next for you, what's important for you to do next, how are you going to move forward, take good care of yourself. Again, I talked about the 10 pebbles that you get. When we have 10 pebbles each day, and that's all we have, if you imagine that is your energy, your emotional energy, your physical energy for the day. And you have to be mindful of how you use that, because once you've used it, you don't get it back unless somebody gives you something in return. You don't get it back. And we only have what we have for one day. So it's just really important to manage our energy, to manage what we give and what we receive in a balanced way. And for many women, we're out of whack. We give way more than we receive, whether that's with our children, with our partners, with our friends, with our employers, with our parents. We tend to give an awful lot, and that can mean we're in a deficit a lot of the time, and that's not good for you. So, my loves. Hey, Nikki, nice to see you, darling. So if you have a question for me, pop it in here. I come on every Thursday at 7:30 a.m., which, to be really fair with you, I'm going to tell you, it's not my time of day. I'm a nighttime girl. I love the night, but this is the time that works for you. And so I'm here because that's the time that works for you. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel. What does that even mean? Eek. So, I'm in my very late 50s. I'm 59 in a smidgen, quarter actually. And new technology is something that I get a bit scared about, if I'm honest. I'm really not very technical. So I've spent the last 2 decades really over on other social media platforms. So this is a new platform for me. It's a little nerve-wracking sometimes, but we can do hard things. That's what I teach women, right? We can do hard things, and this is not an easy thing for me, but I'm really dedicated to doing it. I want to grow my YouTube channel. I want to move a lot of my work over here. A place where I can answer questions from people. I can teach strategies about how to manage the way you think, feel, and behave, helping women with really logical, straightforward, implementable strategies for getting through some of the really tough stuff. I also love community, and a lot of the gorgeous women here today are women who are in my community. I have a membership online, which is a global community of women who I help, every single day. So some of these women have been working with me for a really long time. So that's what I do, and I want to bring some of that over to YouTube. To be able to do that, to be able to grow my channel and reach the milestones that I want to reach, I need people to subscribe to my channel so that the channel grows, because that helps the algorithm. That's just the algorithm, I think, is written by men, girls. I think it's written by men. It's a maths equation, and it's like, what do we show people and what don't we? So people subscribing helps, people commenting helps, people liking and sharing helps, people coming and watching my videos really helps, and getting on my playlists and watching all the different, like a playlist is really a bunch of videos on a specific topic that you can start in, and it's kind of organized, which we like. I've got a big one there that's on affairs, and it's called Beyond Betrayal. And so in there, I think there are 4 videos in that series that are actual specific videos, then other videos that are smaller to that. And there's a workbook there that you can just download for free. I've got my long-term relationships, surviving a long-term relationship ending, and that has a lot of information about those first 3 to 6 months that are just breathtakingly challenging. I've also got information about getting back out there and dating again after you have maybe not dated for 20 or 30 or 40 or even 50 years. I have women in my membership who are over 70. So yeah, there's a lot of information there, and as the channel grows, I will have more information on different topics. My audience decides what I talk about. So whatever women want me to talk about, I will. The channel is predominantly for women who are over 45, whose relationship has ended. Sometimes there are people younger, sometimes there are guys, but generally my information is about that, because that's the audience that I work with. So that's why I stick to that. And you're welcome to come along and ask me questions. You're welcome to come along and watch my videos. You can comment in the comments below. I always appreciate that. All right, so let's see what's going on over here. Kate, hello, darling. One thing I've noticed that I struggle with is feeling distressed that my ex's new girlfriend means more to him than me, or she's more special to him than I was. What's that about? Usually attachment, love. So for some of us, if we're quite anxiously attached, we may not feel lovable enough, worthy enough, good enough. Like, there's a real internal story about, there's something about me that just isn't quite enough. And when a relationship ends and a partner moves on, if they've left us particularly, the felt experience can be, well, you know, because they didn't want me, we can feel discarded, like we weren't good enough, worthy enough, lovable enough to stay, and so they've gone. And then we make up the story in our heads that this other person must be better than me. You know, they must be prettier than me, smarter than me, more fun than me. And therefore they love them and they don't love me. And then the story we tell ourselves is, that's because I'm not good enough, not worthy enough, not lovable enough. Now, that said, Kate, nobody usually sits there telling themselves that explicitly. Nobody sits there going, oh, you know, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not lovable enough. They say things like, I think their girlfriend probably means more to them than I do. Maybe this new girlfriend means more to them now than I ever did. That's how it sounds when we're thinking of it. But the internal experience of it is around, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not lovable enough. Because if I was, they would be with me. And that isn't true, right? That's just not true, but it feels true. And so we can remind ourselves that we are lovable and worthy just as we are. We were born worthy, that, you know, they've moved on, not because of a failure in our part, but because they changed their mind. They wanted something different. Not necessarily something better or worse, but something different. So they've gone to a new person. It's really important for us to remember that our worth is not wrapped up in somebody else's decision to still go. Our worth is innate, it's built in, it belongs to us regardless. This is a lot that I teach when we're at self-love, right? When our bucket of self-love is really full, when we love ourselves and we are compassionate and kind and caring towards ourselves, what other people other people choose to do doesn't really penetrate as deeply as if we really deeply need someone to love us so we can feel worthy enough. So self-love is the antidote for that, right? It helps us be resilient. It helps us remember that we have everything we need inside of us to be able to take care of ourselves, look after ourselves, love ourselves, know we're valuable enough. So it's just, and it takes time. Self-love, you know, people, they throw around comments about self-love. Learning to love yourself is a skill. And many of us were not taught the skill. And so it's like anything else, like learning a language, learning how to drive, learning a new job. We need to learn the skill of self-love. It takes time. So be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself, learn how to quieten down your inner critic and get that inner critic to settle a little bit so that you can take good care of yourself and remind yourself all the time, you know, I am lovable, I am worthy, I have value, and remind yourself, hand on your heart, you know, I love who I am as a human being. Be kind and compassionate to yourself. Really, really important to do that. And you'd be surprised at how much that really does help if you do it regularly. Hello, Dee Dee. How you going, girl? Nice to see you. So some of the ladies who are here, I know because they're in my membership, so it's nice to see you. I'm glad you popped in to say hello. I'm on the end, though. If anybody wants to ask me a quick question, you can. I'll do my best to answer it. Like I said, I come on Thursday morning, 7:30 a.m. Brisbane, Australia time. And I'm more than happy to answer your questions. If you pop on after that, you know, you're welcome to comment. I try and respond to all the comments. I don't know how long I'll be able to do that. I know on my Facebook and on some of my other channels, it can get really busy, but I try very hard to answer what I can. And yeah, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe, if you would hit the notification bell so you're told when I'm coming in. And if you want to go watch some of my other videos, you're more than welcome to do so. If you are coming along to the Heartbreak to Healing workshop, I'm looking forward to seeing you and helping you. You should be receiving emails from me about that regularly. So let's see what's going on here. Fiona, how do we teach our how do we teach our kids self-love? How do we teach our kids self-love so that they don't turn out anxious? Well, if your kids are newborns, you have a chance at that. Some people are born a bit anxious, and so it's about managing anxiety, helping ourselves and our children to manage anxiety. You know, puberty, when they're going through that adolescence, a lot will feel quite anxious, they get a bit distressed. It's a tough time moving through puberty is, And so they can be like that. And it's not about, that isn't about self-love. That's about teaching skills and strategies around, okay, what do I do when I feel anxious? Maybe I take some deep breaths. Maybe I slow things down. Maybe I spend some time journaling things out so that I can get some of the feelings out and start to look at, okay, is this accurate or not? Maybe I do need to go talk to my parent or a school counselor and have a conversation. It's tough. Social media has made life quite hard for kids, and kids can get involved in all sorts of things that really are quite anxiety provoking. So it literally is about teaching a set of skills around how to manage those feelings and not how to get rid of them. And self-love doesn't get rid of anxiety. Anxiety is about fear about the past, fear about the future, fear about being able to cope. So the best way to manage that is to learn skills. And if we're anxious about things, it's about facing them as quickly as we can, rather than trying to avoid them. The more we avoid things that make us anxious, the more anxious we become. The more we're able to sit with the things that make us anxious and face the things that make us anxious, the more resilient we become. So that's what's really important. Rather than making them feel like they love themselves, it's about teaching them how to manage those feelings. I kid. No worries at all. Yes, I've always felt like I'm not good enough. Yeah, and it's an internal story, and we can change it, which is really important. And that's what I really teach, right? Is that it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter what sort of life you have had. I have had a very traumatic history. It's about now, what I do now, and learning skills today. And the gorgeous thing about being a human being is we have the capacity to learn, to love ourselves, to be compassionate, to be empathetic, to be kind, to take care of ourselves. We can learn how to do all those things. Nikki, my darling, I start to notice since becoming disabled that now my grandson is on the move, I have become saying things like he doesn't like me or want me, especially when my parents are. Now, I don't know, but I'm going to guess, because that was probably done with your thumbs on a phone. I'm going to guess what you're saying is that you started to notice that your disability is impacting your relationship with your grandson, because your grandson is now moving around, he's getting a bit older, and you started telling yourself that he doesn't like you or he doesn't want to be around you. Now, lovely. Again, we remind ourselves, right? We remind ourselves, hey, I'm physically not able to do some things that I would love to be able to do. And this little person is on the move, as they are, curious as all get up. They're really curious. They want to look at everything and be in everything and all the things. And we have to remind ourselves, it's not personal. It really isn't personal. They're just really inquisitive and busy, and reminding yourself, saying to yourself, gosh, I'm slower than I would like to be. And this little fella, he's a speedy Gonzales, he's everywhere doing everything. As he gets older, he'll be able to sit, he'll be able to spend time, he'll be able to concentrate. In the meantime, you do the best you can. So maybe sitting on the floor and allowing him to play around you and having things around you that might keep him engaged and entertained, but also reminding yourself, hey, this little person is doing what little people do. He's just going out and being really adventurous and wanting to find all the things and do all the things. So reminding yourself of that is really important. Okay. Now, my loves, I have come to an end. Gone a bit longer today. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you being here. Like I said, it really helps me. You can copy from the there's a little share tab here. You can catch that share tab and pop it on any of your socials, and people will see this video. That would help me out enormously. You can send it to somebody you love or care about by just copying that and emailing it to them, or you can put it on, you can link it up on your socials to them. And I have lots of videos on lots of different topics. I also really appreciate people who watch my videos, because when you watch it, that sends a message out to the algorithm that this information is possibly helpful, and it lets other people know, hey, you might want to watch this. This might be helpful for you. So that would be really helpful to me if you watch my playlists or you can watch my videos. All of that is really, really helpful for me. For those of you who come with the Heartbreak to Healing workshop, TikTok, we are 2 weeks away from Heartbreak to Healing. You're more than welcome to come. I'd love to spend time with you. It's a free workshop that I do a couple of times a year. I'm doing it in May. The 13th of May is when we start, and we finish on the 21st. So if you are interested in that, the sign-up link I can give to you. I can also put it in the first comment, in the pinned comment below. So you're welcome to come and grab that if you'd like it. Thank you very much for spending time with me. I really appreciate you coming today and asking me questions and spending time and chatting with me. I'm very proud of myself because I didn't let that that person who was saying terrible things knock me too far out, and I worked out really quickly how to get rid of them. So I'm already had a good day. All right, my darlings, take the best care of yourself. I will see you all very, very soon. And of course, look after yourselves, okay? Take care. Bye, everyone.